But Malachy, a topic that we've been covering for the past couple of years, and you talk about bad timing, like taking a loan out just before a worldwide pandemic hits that you could never have foreseen, is the plight of Theater 80. The New York Times had a big full-page story on it. And we've been covering Larkin Otway since that time, his fights in the court to retain the two buildings that his father owned and that he helped build in Theater 80. And the unthinkable happened this week where the city marshal pulled up to 80 St. Mark's Place and changed the locks on the doors of the theater and the building and put Larkin and his wife Jeannie out onto the street. And Larkin, we've been covering this for a long time. We never thought it would come to this. But what exactly happened this week? And I know people won't be surprised about who did take you in. But what happened this week?
Yeah, they put us out in the cold and the rain. My wife and I are senior citizens. She had a terrible back injury from a robbery that happened in the theater, and I broke my back falling while working on the lights. And there we are, out in cold rain and mist with literally no place to go, no money. And so late that first night, Beth Ann Carbone, who's a wonderful friend, and Michael put us up for a night in a small hotel room. And then the next morning, our saint of the Lower East Side, Father Pat Maloney, took us in, and which of all the great times of the year to spend with Father Pat. And I'll just add two more differences between Mr. Trump and the fellow we were talking about, and stripping away the myth to get to the real revolutionary in Judea. He said several things. He said, feed each other both literally and spiritually. Yeah. Where the man in New York said, feed me, end of story. The other great difference, of course, was when confronting the Roman occupation. Jesus didn't say, I would, but I've got bone spurs, so you all go on without me, and I was right behind you making the tea. We're actually drinking the tea or champagne. So that's a great difference. But to get back to this, the fight goes on, as Betsy O'Hara said. We are not dead yet. We have several weeks. We have, again, two anonymous benefactors who have conditionally pledged $5 million should we raise another $9 million now. The hero in this story is the IRS. They jumped in last Wednesday week and granted us our tax-exempt status in 3 days instead of the usual 180 or 1 year. So we have met one of the conditions of the conditional gift. Historic 80 St. Mark's is now a tax-deductible not-for-profit. Now, what we need everybody to do is flood the foundations with requests that they act in an emergency. Ask Mr. Bloomberg, who is a great patron of the arts, loves theater, ask his foundation to grant us $9 million, and we'll name the building after him. Anyone who comes out. If the Orange Man suddenly was struck by lightning on the road to was it the road to Damascus?
The road to St. Mark's, but go ahead.
Right. And suddenly it says, I've seen the light, here's $9 million. We might call it the revived or the saved Mr. Trump Center for Community Culture. But even Mr. Trump, if he jumps up to the plate and does something for the people at last, we will, in fact, honor him for that, because Theater 80 is extraordinarily, and the entire complex is very, very necessary to the neighborhood. It not only provides jobs and services, but without it, there is a little less hope. The number of people that we have seen on the road to recovery who were down and out in the park or had been born into families without hope and while at the same time serving the people of Park Avenue in Lexington with Shakespearean plays or Sonia Sanchez's Sister Soldier. We are the ultimate in diverse, politically, economically, ethnically. We've had plays in every language you could name. But at the moment,
Larkin,
yes.
It is an artistic treasure, that theatre, and the building, of course, is should not be taken over by thugs who knock it down, and build a baseless, idiotic thing with the one-room apartments renting for $300,000 a year or some stupid thing like that.
Yeah, they've made $300 million, this company, off COVID. And I grew up to believe that this country did not support profiteering in times of warfare and disaster. And we're not saying don't give them a fair profit on buying our debt. If they got a 10% profit, we would be able to handle that, and they would be rewarded for stepping up to the plate. But taking a $6 million note and in just over a year turning it into a $13 million debt is obscene.
Wow.
And the greater
what would you do if you did regain possession now? What would you do to make it, although non-profit, how would you gain enough funds to pay off debts? Certainly, what would you do?
We redesigned the theater just before the note was bought in such a way that we could, instead of doing 4 or 5 shows a week the way most theaters do, with our cabaret format, we would be doing 4 or 5 shows a day. And when I took over running Theater 80, my brother had intentionally run it down to the point that the building was making $35,000 a year. Within a short time, I got us up to nearly $800,000 a year, which means with this change alone, we would be making well over $1 million a year, plus the branding. We had an 80-page study done by a company that leases theaters and sports arenas for branding, and they established that the branding I created for that building is worth $500,000 a year. Right there, that $500,000 would pay off any mortgage that one would have. So as a not-for-profit, we would have much, much lower running costs. We would be doing galas and fundraisers, plus the ticket prices and the tavern and all would subsidize what happens in the building. So it would be, one of the great myths is that not-for-profit is not profitable. The not-for-profits, of course, are the only ones making money because they could raise more money than their ticket prices. We resisted that because we wanted the freedom to be able to have programming about Lynn Stewart and about those things that many not-for-profits were afraid to do. And I am hoping that in this new configuration, should we survive, we will be kind of a mix between WBAI and Lincoln Center, which is important because it then mainstreams those marginalized issues and ideals that the same audience that comes to see a Shakespearean play says, oh, what's this piece by Sonia Sanchez? I think I'll come next week and see what it is, and then they come and they learn something. So
and Larkin, what was the exact process? I mean, most people hear about evictions. How did they get you out of the house? And what was that process?
Yeah, we knew it was coming, so for 3 or 4 days, Jeannie and I spent frantically taking our legal files and shredding them so that past clients' personal business won't be in enemy hands. We didn't have very much time for our own personal belongings. So we have some of our personal belongings. We're still totaling up what has been locked in the house. To our horror, that night we realized I'd left my parents in the house. In the garden, we have little sanctuary with my parents' ashes, which we hope to retrieve. There is just so much that we had to leave behind, and we're just on a funny note, as some people know, I have mobility problems, and there's Jeannie and I lugging my harp across town to get a harp key at West 4th Street so I could play the harp for Father Pat for Mass soon. To thank him for this wonderful room. But the important thing to get out as well is we started a group on Facebook, and we'll probably have several other sites called The Taking of Historic Haiti St. Mark's and the Constitution. There is information about the GoFundMe, which is being started because it actually costs money to raise money and to get out there and beat the bushes. And so folks could find me on Facebook, find the Theater 80 page, and find links to that fairly long title. And that will keep people up to date with the brainstorming and the drive to not lose this place to predators.
So if you get in, if you can beat this now at the moment, and you can get a sponsor or a patron or some person who has enough funds to take care of the debt, would you immediately get into production with plays and shows?
We have some wonderful plays lined up. Saul Rubinek, who many people would recognize his face, he's been in everything, wrote a play about his parents being hidden in Poland during the Holocaust. He was born in a displaced persons camp in Germany. And the play has so many layers because it's the follow-up to a film he did in Poland, and it tells the true story of making the film and dealing with the Polish government wanting to hide what Poland did, what Polish people did during the Holocaust. So it's just one layer after the other. Also, there's a series that has been being done with, gee, help me with his name, Marty Garbus, the wonderful defense lawyer who defended Lenny Bruce and was a friend of Victor Hara and was a lawyer for the ANC. And there's one play that is the story of his life, and then there are small one acts where they play his great trials, which are so important. And we just have so much that will be played that can't be played anywhere else because of the way other theaters are constructed. The idea that you're right there close to the stage. And also we're a theater with a very broad mission.
Well, you're listening to WBAI, and with us on the line is Larkin Otway, who was made homeless during the week by the city of New York, but our good friend, Father Pat Maloney, has taken him in on 9th Street, him and his wife, Jeannie. Larkin, thanks for coming on and giving us the latest update, and we'll keep our audience updated on the nonprofit status now of Theater 80.
Many, many thanks. And for those who are, Jeannie says it's not the city of New York. It's city of New York is helping us. Yes, I missed that. I'm sorry. The Division of Culture and Cultural Affairs has been really making a glorious stand to try and save us. It's the court, the bankruptcy court, and the creditor company.
Right.
But to everybody, a Ramadan Mubarak, a happy Easter, happy Passover, and happy St. McCourt Day.
And now we continue on. We're talking